goal setting is supposed to be an activity that lessens your fear, that lessens your depression, that lessens any anxiety, right? We don't want goal
Yes.
setting to be something that induces these feelings, right? That's like literally the opposite of why we're going through this process.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
Welcome back, guys. I'm Rachel. We have an incredible episode for you this week on goals. Goals. And I'm going to say, what the hell? What? I can't say goals without you.
I don't know. I don't know why anyone gives me a microphone if we're
I
being
was,
honest.
what I was going to say was your hair was goals today because I'm here for the volume.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I've been having some weird hair days recently, but I did wash it today, and that always makes you feel revitalized.
Yeah, like you're really winning. You're really winning. Oh my God, I had this wicked embarrassing moment. Oh, you just remind me. Me interacting with people. It's just
Yeah,
oh
questionable
my
at best.
God. Questionable at best. And it's like if I'm not automatically offending them just by like my general demeanor, I'm saying things that are just like I'm replaying going, what the fuck?
Yeah, cringy later for sure.
So cringe. So
I'm not saying it for you. I do that.
no, so no, it's me. No, yes to the cringing. I have we have a helper that comes over to help Rory with his reading, and she is a teacher at the school and she's amazing. And she came over yesterday and said like, "Oh, I love your hair. It's so cute today." And I said, "Yeah, I showered. It's a big deal." And then I like furthered that up with, the most compliments I get is when I just shower. And everybody says, "Oh, your hair looks great." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks. I showered." And I kept saying the word showered, like I don't shower every day. Like what I meant
I was
was
thinking that when you were
I
repeating
washed my hair. That was what I meant. I washed my hair. And I was trying to make a joke about like how I never wash my hair. And whenever I do, people are like, "Oh, what did you do?" And I just say like, but instead, for some reason, I was talking shower. So now this woman thinks like I rarely shower.
You know what? I just want to put your concerns at ease real quick because she definitely doesn't put any more thought into your showering habits after that
I must have
conversation.
said 6 times. Like I just like never shower. And when
You know
I
what?
do, like, no, I shower every day.
She definitely has gone out with her friends and talked about the lady's house that she goes to who doesn't shower.
I'm so stupid all the time. I'm so stupid.
No,
And
we're just not talking about ourselves like that. But let me tell you this, like she is genuinely forgot that conversation ever happened.
I
And
never will. I never will.
does not think that you don't shower.
Can you put it on my tombstone? Shower daily, I promise.
I know exactly what you mean though, but any other woman understands that you're talking about washing your hair. Like they just do. They just do. We get
Okay.
it. You're showering, but washing your hair is a whole other vibe, and it's a whole other shower, really.
It really.
It's
not even the same shower. That's
No.
why I was like that's why I was like putting them in 2 different categories. There's like showering and then there's like showering.
Oh yeah, it's a whole thing. Like you're like we're gonna wash your hair. We might exfoliate. There's a lot of. I do like a scalp it's a scalp mask basically, but like
Oh, that's why your hair looks so good.
Yeah, I have like a scrub, like massages my scalp.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. I don't take care of a lot of I don't have a lot of like little like treats that I do, like treats like little things that like make my life easier. Like I just don't do them. There's a lot of things I could do that would significantly improve my quality of life that are just small things. And I'm then put it in. One of them is getting a desk. So guys,
I was this close to being like getting a desk, but I didn't even. I know it's too soon.
It's too
You're
soon.
upset
I have a lot
about
of
it.
a lot of upsetness about that because I
Yeah, I'm
did
not gonna talk
promise
about it.
everyone in the last episode that the next time that they saw me, there's gonna be a desk. But listen, we recorded 2 in 1 week, so back up.
Hmm.
My desk is coming today,
Let him know,
and
sis. Let him
yeah,
know.
I have big plans to put it together, but there's definitely, like, I noticed about myself is that there's so many things that I could just there would be small adjustments that would make a big difference in, like, how I would feel in productivity and stuff, and you notice it when you do small things like light candles or, change your bed sheets or, like, things like that where you're like, "Oh, this feels so nice." But there's definitely other things that I personally could do, but my brain, like, skips over them until they become a massive problem, and I'm sitting at a desk that I've had enough where, like, the screens are everywhere and the what are these called? Wires. The wires are just, like, making my brain mush, but I will pass over those things until they're, like, really bothering me. So anyway, one of the things that I do is a scalp massager treatment
Mm.
situation, and it
No
really
desk,
no desk,
scalp massager.
scalp massage, but it's, like, really nice, like, I would suggest it because, like, you get some blood flow to your head, like, in your scalp,
I love that.
and it makes your it's like giving your hair coffee, like, it makes it just feel so energized.
Well, I love it. I love it, and, I'm here for you, but on the note of things you want to improve, we could potentially set a reflective goal
Yes.
that minor inconveniences are gonna be handled at the time, or we're gonna put a plan in place at
Yeah.
least
Write
to
them
take some
down.
steps, right, and I just think that that is one of the most important parts of goal setting, and we're gonna talk about that today because so many goals are, you think of them, you start them, you really have such good intentions in the beginning, and you're frustrated when they don't come to fruition, or you're frustrated when you realize you don't have the tools or the necessary steps in place to make them come true. And oh my fucking god, I can't do it. I can't. Hello, Dan. No, it's fine. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it.
Oh, Dan.
Dan is fixing my fridge today. Thank you, Dan. We love you. Oh, okay. So anyways, we got to get some goals, and don't worry, my fridge is under good care with Dan. Thank you, sir.
So here's the thing about setting goals is something that I wanted to talk about with reflective goal setting because I'm gonna fall over all of my words right now.
Well,
Um, Something I wanted to talk about with reflective goal setting is the importance of setting goals, and I think that there is okay. So a lot of people are like, I set goals, I do the thing, but there's a little action behind it, or they do the same thing repeatedly after goals have failed with the same process that they've already done. And I can see why this would be very frustrating when it comes to New Year's resolutions, when it comes to goal setting, when it comes to goals for your health and fitness, your lifestyle, your relationships, all of these things. Because we have these goals and we're able to identify what would improve our lives. But oftentimes the steps we take to achieve those goals are the same ones that have failed us in the past. And that can be one of the reasons why we're just setting ourselves up for failing in the future. So we're going to talk about ways to set goals that are actually going to set you up for success for the next year, for the next lifetime, for the next goal you set, because there's a ton of science behind goal setting, why it's important, and what ways are beneficial and what ways are going to help you successfully meet that goal, that it is a disservice to ourselves to continue to set a path that has already failed us when there's so many studies, so many science behind goal setting and how we can effectively set goals and achieve them, that we're just going to share that information with you so that we don't just continuously set these endless goals that we really do want without any plan of action behind them.
Yeah, totally. And it's goal setting season.
Yeah.
This is the time of year where the most goals are set. And so maximizing the processes behind doing it right is just going to allow you really to, um, you know, goal setting is supposed to be an activity that lessens your fear, that lessens your depression, that lessens any anxiety, right? We don't want goal
Yes.
setting to be something that induces these feelings, right? That's like literally the opposite of why we're going through this process because so many people have those feelings on the immediate time of like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to set some goals up right away. Shame comes rolling in. You never finish your goals. You never achieve things. Remember that one time you told the lady is you never shower, like all these things, and like being afraid of actually reaching the goal. I mean, these are things that are real and we may not realize are preventing us from setting ourselves up to win. Oh, you got to have a drink right there.
I know.
My God.
I'm so sorry. I knew you were coming to the end of a thought, and I just had a little tickle.
This day is
this episode is real and raw, and we're just gonna send it to you how it is. But I think that you hit something really important there that I just want to highlight a little bit. When we set goals and they're surrounded by shame and fear, and they are generally surrounded by some type of deficiency that you feel that you are not meeting in your life. And this is where I want to talk about as we start to look at, setting their New Year's resolutions, setting our New Year's goals. I really want to encourage you, if you are setting a New Year's resolution or a New Year's goal, that it doesn't start with, I want to lose whatever. A lot of that starts with, I want to lose 15 pounds. I want to lose blah, 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 blah. I would implore you to start with something that is framed in something that you are going to gain. Perhaps you want to gain more fitness. Maybe you want to gain more independence in your life. Maybe you want to gain more fulfilling relationships. Maybe you want to gain a better focus on your nutrition. These are things that essentially are going to have a similar byproduct of the thing that you're looking for without kind of the negative mindset that you go into something that you want to just lose. Because when we go into it with, this is something I want to lose, like I want to lose weight, I want to blah, blah, blah. It kind of has this it kind of has this like shame attached to it of something that you haven't been doing. And I just want to look at something that we can add into our lives that will be more fulfilling and that will improve your life moving into the new year, that is more of a growth mindset.
the queen of reframing.
I know. I
Reframes
come up
again.
with that on the spot.
I'm just bowing down to your ability to reframe because it's gotten to new heights. I'm just saying. All right, we're going to break this down in 5 steps because reflective goal setting is a practice which you can literally insert any goal. It does not matter what it has to do with. It doesn't matter what area of your life it's going to touch. You go through these 5 steps with any goal that you're going to set.
You will have success.
Scientifically, you are more likely to succeed in some capacity. And we're going to talk about that in a little while too, of like, what does success look like and how are we judging it? Because that's like a really important thing to outline before you decide whether you won or lost, which, just saying, there's losing is only dying. So
I know.
I mean, yeah. So you've won no matter what. But if you take your goal and you run it through these 5 steps, scientifically, you are much more likely to actually see success in this goal. So we want to highlight these for you. We want to maximize the way that you are goal setting this year so that you can freaking kill it. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Well, at least you do.
All right, step one, we need to enhance your self awareness. Any person who is thinking about self awareness is already taking the steps, honestly, necessary um, to fulfill this. Because a lot of times we are setting a goal. Let's just say it how it is.
We'll call it like it
We're
is.
going to call it how it is. A lot of us are setting goals that have an extreme lack of self awareness for who we are as a person and our capabilities within those goals. Now, a lot of people set fitness goals around getting to the gym within a certain time, working out at 5 a.m. If you are not a morning person, if you are not necessarily successful in the morning, why are we trying to get to the gym at a time that is not typically successful for you? You as a person. Now, I want to just talk about the fact that, like, because you're not a morning gym person, you have not failed at gym, you have not failed at fitness, you have not failed at life. All of these memes about like everyone successful gets up at 4:30 in the morning, that's all lies. I'm successful. I don't get up at 4:30. Like,
Lies.
it's all lies. So if you are setting some of these goals, we have to really look at it with a scope of self awareness. And is this going to set me up for success? Like, you wouldn't set a goal of like taking on public speaking and be like, I that makes me incredibly nervous. I'm an introvert. Like, that's just I just wish I was this other person. That's not how we set those goals. So let's come at it with just some identity of, this is the type of person that I currently am. And can I structure my goals to fit me and my life, my lifestyle, to lead to success?
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to think that being an introvert means you can never set a goal to work towards being more comfortable in public speaking. This isn't saying, like, well, this is just the way I am. I'm not
Yeah.
going to make any improvements. Because often I think that, we're either on one end of the spectrum or the other. We're either like, I'm not a morning person and I'm going to work out at 5 a.m. and we'll see how that goes. Or it's like, I'm not a morning person. And so I'm never going to ever work out in the morning, even if my schedule doesn't allow me to work out at night. I'd rather just like skip it. Like, it's like, we can make improvements on our current self without putting it so far out of reach of self-awareness that we're like, okay, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think one of the most important things is, I'm going to say, knowing your Enneagram.
Yeah.
I really think it is super beneficial when you're breaking down who you are and what motivates you, right? If you know your Enneagram, it will help you to see why you're choosing the goals that you're choosing and how they like meet your intrinsic needs as a person. um because I think that we often misunderstand why we're setting a goal, and if we can understand ourselves better, we can work towards really meeting the need that the goal is like masking. You know what I mean?
Definitely. If you guys don't know what we're talking about when we're talking about an Enneagram, we did an entire episode on finding your Enneagram, how to do that, and what that kind of like looks like to you. So we can link it again if you're not sure what Enneagram type you are. But there are 9 types, and they're broken down into, how your personality kind of displays itself, like, what motivates you, how you interact with others when you're in a healthy space, when you're in an unhealthy space. So none of the numbers are good, bad, any. It's just kind of to understand, know thyself, to understand you and your personality and kind of what drives you. So first, I would suggest going to find what your Enneagram number is, and then we can talk a little bit about what kind of drives some of these different numbers.
Yeah. Well, speaking on like the person who wants to take on public speaking, traditionally, Enneagram fours, their like basic, most motivating need is the need to be understood. And so you might be an Enneagram four with like a lean towards introverted. So your need that is like being displayed with this goal is like you want to be understood. You're setting a goal of public speaking to be more understood, but you might be able to meet that goal with things that meet your Enneagram number a little bit better. So you're an introvert, you might love writing a blog.
Mm,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And that might set you up for so much more success. Just knowing yourself and who you are, what makes you tick, and why you're setting this goal. Like what need is it meeting? I want to feel understood. I want to like effectively communicate with people. Oh, okay. Well, what is a way that I can do that in a way that my personality is not going to, feel deeply shaken by the fact that I have to go out and talk in front of people.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point, and I love that you brought up that there is kind of two camps when it comes to self-awareness, honestly, and kind of starting with self-awareness and then working from there. There's kind of two camps when this comes in. So it's either I am not accepting that that's how I am, and I'm going to set goals to completely change, overhaul my personality because I don't like that. And then there's the kind of the camp that goes, well, that's just the way I am. And it kind of goes hands off. And there's not really any growth or understanding or room to improve in some of those areas. As everything in this world, there is a balance of that in the middle where we can understand who we are, what drives us, and how we can become our most successful selves in a growth mindset. So we're taking like, how can I change some of these things? Or how can I work to grow some of these things with an understanding of this is who I am as a person. And it comes with strengths and deficiencies. And to fill in some of those deficiencies, like I wouldn't have these aspects of my personality without some of those deficiencies, but they serve me as my strengths as well. So how can we feed the strengths of our personality that is already there, working towards the goals that we set?
Yeah, I love that. So, step one really is a deep dive into yourself, your particular motivators, and thinking about setting goals that sort of meet these needs. And step two is actually selecting them. So, we're going to sit down, we're going to write the goal down. This is an important step, says science. Science says your brain likes to write it down. Don't skip this. And your brain also likes it to be specific. So be as specific as you can with this goal. And again, highlighting it in a way of things that you're going to gain rather than things you're going to get rid of is always going to help your brain to process this better and make it a little bit less of a negative thing moving forward. I think when we're selecting our goal, the one thing that I want to highlight for this step is that if we can anticipate some things that might be difficult along this road, if you know you are setting a goal that you would like to go to the gym 4 times a week, and you know you struggle a little bit with perfectionism, anticipate, don't try to work against this, right? And say, like, I'm going to be less perfectionist. When I go to the gym, I'm going to be more open to just the fact that I'm not going to be great at this at the beginning. Because we know this is an inherent part of your personality. So just anticipating this and saying, I know that I lean towards a little bit of perfectionism. And I know that this could be a roadblock because if I go there and I don't know what I'm doing, that could make me not go back another time. Just anticipating that It doesn't mean you even have to change the behavior. Just thinking about it in advance will draw attention to the fact that that could be a roadblock, and you can set up some things around that.
Real quick, guys, quick interruption to tell you about, backed by popular demand, our rest day sweatpants.
Cozy season continues with 4 colors this year. They are so freaking comfortable. It's a boyfriend cut. It's like wearing your husband's favorite sweatpants. It is just comfort unparalleled.
Yeah. So I like to think about when we're anticipating some of the barriers or some of the friction points to meeting a goal. I like to just throw a caveat in there that you're not looking for problems as to why you can't reach your goal. You're anticipating, based on your lifestyle and the goal that you're setting, what might be some of the friction points to meeting the goal, with the backdrop that we're not losing the goal. We're just being flexible about how we might be able to get there, so that you can work in what your lifestyle looks like, what your personality looks like, and not just throw all that out the door and think you're going to overpower your way to meeting a goal. And I think that specifically around this time of year, there's a lot of enthusiasm around goal setting, and there's a lot of big dreams and thoughts because it's a whole new year. It's a big thing that's coming up. And I just want to, I love that. I love the enthusiasm. My wing is the enthusiast.
It's
I
true.
love the enthusiasm behind it, but I also just want to ensure that when we are, setting some of those big goals, when we're setting some of those things that we would love to see in our lives, that we are realistic about what our current lifestyle is, and that we're not deviating so far from where we currently are that you're setting yourself up for success.
You know, that's where a lot of dreams go to die, because there's not
That's
one road to success, and trying to follow someone else's road or trying to take a specific path that, someone said was the only way. These are where dreams go to die. And I hate that for people, because I know that there are so many roads to be able to reach a goal that, like, and also none of them are straight. So
and none of
just keep that in mind too.
none of them are straight, and you have to take into account, which I'll say until I'm blue in the face, like what season you're in. Like
Mhm.
we are definitely, there might be a goal that you say like, this is a really good goal and it's going to maintain on my goal list, but maybe it's more on the long term goals because of the season that I'm currently in. It doesn't fit into my current lifestyle. And that's why I love like selecting a goal and writing it down, because you select the goal, you write it down, and then you look at what are the possible barriers that might inhibit me from achieving this goal. And I know it's a health and fitness podcast, but I would really love if, while we're setting a lot of these goals, that they are not just physical goals. It isn't just to do with like what your fitness level is going to look like in 2024, or what your fitness level is going to look like in the future. That we kind of look at what are some of the things that would lead us to living a happy, healthy life. And what are some of the steps that we could take that might be small, it could improve our mindset, that could help us get there?
That'd be it. That'd be it, man. And on, the note of writing down and step 2, I want people to recognize the roadblocks, but I also want them to remember to, not forget the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're writing down, like, a possible roadblock is you're leaning toward perfectionism, make sure to also write down that being a perfectionist probably makes you a very hard ass worker.
Mm.
Right? So one doesn't come without the other. We don't just shame perfectionism and, like, not highlight the good part of perfectionism, which is like being really, really committed to working hard. That's a great quality, and that's going to serve you towards that goal. So don't forget to list that also,
Yeah.
because sometimes those personality traits go like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, they all do.
Mhm.
I mean, all of the things that, like, honestly, all of the things that we can think about, some of our deficiencies and some of our strengths, like, they all go hand in hand. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have courage without fear. You don't have, a lot of happiness without knowing sadness. You don't have these things without the other. And I do this with my personality a lot, and I feel like it's really served me, is that some of the things that I find frustrating about the way my mind works or the way that I do things, I say, like, well, there is another side of that that breeds creativity and that breeds, noticing some of these other things. And I encourage everyone, when you're starting to see some of those aspects of your personality that you might find frustrating, hit it with some of the strengths that it gives you, because I guarantee you, one of the things that I find extremely frustrating about the way my brain works is I will hear like a word or a phrase and I go into so many different thoughts about it. I just make like a ton of connections within like a couple seconds. And it is difficult for me to stay on task because I'm making all of those connections. However, making all of those connections makes me a really good problem solver because I see other connections that a lot of people have not been able to make. So although it might be challenging for me to stay on task, I make connections that have served me. But one of those things like can't come without the other.
I put you down. Did you see?
You did?
Perfectionist, positive is being a hard worker. People who get distracted or sidetracked from the details are also probably creative AF. Like these are common personality traits. And again, like identifying your Enneagram will help you tremendously here. But yeah, like make sure those positives are highlighted because they're just as important as the roadblocks. Step 3, we're going to visualize. You guys, this has moved from like hippie shit weirdos, like, oh my God, can you believe these odd ducks out there using visualization and thinking like it's helping? This has moved into the realm of like scientifically proven.
Yeah.
This is such a good thing for your brain to be able to practice. And when we're goal setting, skipping this step, I'm telling you, I know sometimes we think that it's like silly or it's like, how, is that really going to help? Shouldn't I be out doing something instead? When you're visualizing it, you are doing it.
You are doing it through in your brain. You are
Your
actually doing
brain doesn't, it can't tell the difference.
it. I am someone who personally loves visualization. This has taken on so many different names, visualizations, because we talk about like manifesting, we talk about so many things where like you're setting a goal and you're seeing yourself achieving it. But one thing that I think is missed in the conversation is that when we set a goal and we think about visualization or we think about manifesting, we see ourselves at the end. We see ourselves at the top of the staircase and how we've achieved the goal. But what I really would encourage you, if that is the first thing that pops into your mind, like totally cool, you're in the majority there. But what I want you to think about is visualizing yourself doing some of the steps that it takes to get there. And um, I'll tell you guys something I did, uh, that I use this as that's very tangible. When I was training for Wadapalooza, when I came up to doing the qualifiers, I didn't picture myself on the competition floor at Wadapalooza. I pictured myself trying so hard in each of the individual workouts. How did I want to feel at the end of some of these qualifying events? How did I want to go into some of those events? How was I going to structure my time leading up to doing the qualifying workouts? So what was my like nutrition going to look like during the week, for the qualifiers? What was my work schedule going to look like? What was my sleep? I was like, make sure that I didn't have any events that I was like going out during that time, or that I just said like I'm not going to show up during those because I have another goal that I'm working on. But I've found that this part of the process is often skipped because we want the end result. We want to see ourselves at the top of the mountain, but we don't want to see the climb there. Not don't want to see, we kind of miss the climb there. And being able to visualize those specific steps, like getting in the car to get to your workout for 5:30. What time do you need to get in the car? Maybe you need to get in at 5:05. Picture those steps. If that's part of your goals, picture some of those steps, some of the small things that are going to lead you to the daily achievement of your bigger goal.
I like to think of visualization as practicing.
Yeah.
And if you take this to like a sports analogy, if you want to practice something, if you want to practice soccer, you don't see yourself standing at the World Cup on the first place podium with the medal around your neck. You picture the small things that go into practicing soccer. So when we're visualizing and using that as a practice for the thing, for the goal, we want to bring that down to the small things that we're going to do every day. If your goal is to write a blog, I don't want you to think about what that feels like in the end when you have like this ultra successful blog and everyone's cheering for you and like you're famous on the interwebs. I want you to think about what writing one blog is going to feel like. Where are you going to be?
Mm.
What does it smell like? What are you wearing? What are you sipping on? Like all of these things, just getting in that mentality, it's like your brain is practicing writing a blog. It's almost like getting in another rep of doing it without even doing it. So we're just building up sets and reps to feel more and more comfortable with how that goal is going to manifest itself. And I'm telling you, practicing those steps is really far more effective than, practicing how you're going to feel in the end. Because I mean, do we ever really feel in the end like we thought we were going to? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. Step 4. Okay. We need to work backwards. The goal has been written. We have visualized how we're going to get there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create the goal statement, which is going to be something like, I will make nutrition a priority in my life. Okay. Now we're going to work backwards on that. We're going to create a whole bunch of sub statements that are going to be how we're going to achieve. And these all are going to be things we're actually going to physically write down, right, guys? Like we're going to go through the practice. Your brain likes it.
So these are supportive statements. So when you set something that is a larger goal like that, you have to have your supportive statements that are going to help you achieve those goals. So if you set nutrition as one of your goals, then things that you might add to as your supportive statements would be like, I will add vegetables to every one of my meals. Okay, got it. I will grocery shop every day. Oh my God.
Oh my God. You just described my nightmare.
I don't grocery shop at all.
Apocalypse. We have to grocery shop every day. And that's like a horror movie.
Did you see my reaction?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Who said that?
I hate the grocery store.
I hate the grocery store too. I will grocery shop every Monday at 4 p.m. because that sets my week up for success. Now, some of these supportive statements are not written in permanent marker. We always have flexibility on how we are going to achieve our goals. So you might say something like, I am going to make it to the gym every 4 days a week at 5:30. If as you start to do that, you find that 5:30 is a particularly difficult time for you to get there, and 6:30 might be a better time, we just cross out that 5:30 and we put the 6:30 in there, because I think what happens with a lot of times when we start making these goals is some of the supportive statements start to fall through. We think the whole thing is falling out. The floor is falling out and it's all done. And I would really just love, like, all of these things are an all or nothing mindset, which like we really have to get away from. But if there is one barrier or one, like, I'm going to put in quotes, failure in your supportive statements to meeting your goal. That doesn't mean the goal has fallen out, and that doesn't mean it's gone. Do you know how many times I set a goal to buy a house this year? Do you know how many times that fell through? Do you know how many times it felt like it just wasn't going to happen, wasn't going to meant to be, it just wasn't going to work out? No, those other places fell through, the timeline fell through, all of the things that were set to like, this is what's going to happen, those fell through. The goal didn't change. You don't waver on what you really want your goal to be. You waver on how you get there. Maybe you waver on the timeline, maybe you waver on some of your supportive statements, but you don't change what the goal is if that's truly what you want to happen.
Absolutely.
So change your times, maybe to go to the gym. If Monday at 4:00 every Monday you're going to go to the grocery store. If that doesn't work for you, change it. Maybe 5:00, maybe going in the morning.
Maybe Instacart.
Maybe Instacart, guys. Two people
They're not
keeping
sponsored.
Instacart alive. I'm going to tell you a side story. I went to the grocery store last night. I Instacarted this morning.
It's such a confusing place.
I said, like,
so
I'm only going to
overwhelmed.
get a rotisserie chicken when I walk through because I'm so overwhelmed in there that, like, I got a rotisserie chicken and a kombucha.
I mean, don't go there thirsty. It's a bad idea. You'll walk out with so many ridiculous items. Oh my God. It's so true.
I'll do the rest on Instacart. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm stressed.
The thing about the supportive statements is that they each reflect on their own proof that you're working towards your goal, right? And just because one falls through doesn't mean all of the proof has fallen through. So if you have a bunch of supportive statements that they're not going to be proof of achievement, but they are going to be proof of improvement. So if your overall goal is I'm going to make nutrition a priority in my life, and one of your statements of like I'm going to limit my takeout to 3 times a week. Say in this particular week, it was nuts and you had to get 5 times a week takeout. But one of your other supporting statements was, I'm not going to drink wine on Thursdays. I'm going to drink tea instead. And you did that. Whoa. Okay. That's why I like to have a lot of supportive statements rather than just the one goal. Because if you have just the one goal written out and then you get takeout 5 times that week, it's like, well, like, oh, sorry, bleep that out. Well, never mind, throw it all away, right? But if you have a bunch of supportive statements, you can be like, well, I didn't do that one, but I did do these two. And then you can see if if you work in percentages, like say you have 10 things lined up for supportive statements and you achieved 3 of them out of the week, that's 30% better. 30% better adds up, sis.
Yeah.
So like we're not going to go into the shame bucket over like, I only did 3 things out of my supportive statements for my goal this week. No. There's no only. There's 0 or there's 3, and I'm taking 3 all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. All right, our last one, it's go time. You're rolling out your goal. It's starting. You've got all your supportive statements, you've written it down, you've visualized, you've done all of the things, and you are analyzing what is happening with your goal. Now,
Real time.
Mm-hmm. Now, all of these things can be missed, but sometimes we just get so blind in what we've decided is going to happen that we refuse to take a step back and analyze how is this is my constant phrase. How is that working for you? It works in so many ways, but how is it working for you? Continuously analyze how it's going for you and what you might need to support your goal. Is there someone you need to ask for support? Is there any tools that you need to help it to become a reality? Now, one of the things that I had been thinking about, there was just like a goal outside of health and fitness. I just kind of like to keep sprinkling these things in to maybe inspire or give people ideas. Is if your goal is maybe to become a less anxious person and less in
Why, yes. Thank you so much for highlighting my goal in front of thousands of people.
For example.
Just for example, I just picked this one out of thin air. I don't even know. It's just a, just to inspire people,
Just to
just give an
inspire
idea.
some thoughts.
Oh, dear.
Perhaps you might need to look at what are the supports in your life that you might need to pull in, right? So like what are some people that make you that help you not feel anxious, that make you feel supported, that make you feel calmer? What are some tools that you have in your toolbox that you might need to reference back to that set you up for success? And I think that this is a really strong one to be able to secure some of those connections that you have in your life, because when you involve other people, whether directly or indirectly, with your goal, you are creating a secure connection with them because they're a part of something that is important to you and they're helping you meet that goal by just displaying their strengths, basically, which is a wonderful exchange between people. Because if you say like you're a really calming presence for me, I feel less anxious when I'm around you, I feel happier, and that is really supporting my goal of living a less anxious life. It's like, oh, well, I love that. I would love to like show up for you in that way of support. And you've out loud identified that that person, thing, tool, whatever, um, is is helping you. And one of the parts I don't think we may have skipped over it a little bit is saying these things out loud
Mhm.
is a really important part of making goals a reality. And that doesn't mean just like saying your goal out loud. That means like using some of your supportive language said out loud. Like if you would like to create better boundaries with people in your life, you would like to like, and by some of those boundaries that involves saying no. Practice saying no in the shower. No, I cannot do that. I do not have space for that. I don't have the emotional bandwidth for your complaints right now. That's a personal one. Whoa, I really came
Oh,
out.
God.
I really came out.
Who am I? Tell me what you are really thinking there.
But sometimes that's a really strong like that seems like in on the surface that can seem really dismissive, but at the same time, if you're protecting your energy, your boundaries, and that's something that you would really like to work on, that involves setting those boundaries. But that also, like, once you set those boundaries, you make space for the time that you really do have the emotional bandwidth to handle some of that. Like, you really can show up fully for someone and say like, I'm 100% here for what you have to say. But there is limits to that. We all have limits for what we have the ability to withstand, and those boundaries are so healthy. But sometimes we need to practice, if those are not well developed, saying those actually out loud. I say in the shower because that's a really important time. You're by yourself, you're thinking about these things, but using that time to kind of display that out loud.
No, yeah, I think that when people set a goal, they should practice it as much as they can, both visually and in settings that are perhaps not, the goal setting. If you want to write a blog, like talking to people about the fact that you're going to do it and that you're excited to do it and talking about some of your ideas, just practicing what the goal feels like, maybe not specifically in the setting, but just practicing it among your people. Like you said, like practicing it alone in the shower. Just like, what am I going to sound like when I have to say no to this person? Because this is my goal and I want to uphold it, but I want to hear myself say this so that it doesn't sound foreign to me when I actually have to do it. Practice is really, really important when it comes to goal setting. And if you think of it like muscle memory, if you do it in times where you don't necessarily feel that uncomfortable vibe, or, like, this is why people practice presentations in front of, their kids. You're going to do a TED talk, you're going to do it 90 times in front of your husband, because like that's a great way to practice it. And one of the last things when it's go time that I really want to highlight is when you're thinking about this real time and you're analyzing how it's going, that you need to constantly be doing that. We need to think very specifically about what we're consuming, because just anecdotally, if your goal is to be a less anxious person and you have set your supporting statements and you have visualized and you have your tools in place, right? Real time, you may not notice that, for example, a lot of your algorithms are news based, let's say. This is something for
This is
me
a
that I
good one,
have
yeah.
to avoid. I cannot, and it's weird because like anxiety is weird because you are drawn to those things to feed, because that story is like, we need to be afraid. And then if your brain is saying that, then you're looking for ways to prove that. And like the news is a super easy, super obvious way to go like, hey, look, there's a bunch of scary things happening. I had to purposefully change my algorithms where like I would not click on things that I wanted to click on that I could see were going to be anxiety inducing, to change my algorithm to get out of that echo chamber. And I think I never had that on my list. I never had that on my action statements. I never had it anywhere because I didn't even think of it. But real time, I was analyzing the goal and I was thinking about like, this seems to be going well in these areas, but it's really going off the rails at nighttime. And then I was like, what am I doing at nighttime? I'm scrolling. Just having the ability to remember that we are what we consume is a really important part of reaching or not reaching your goals. If you want a certain thing, surround yourself with it. If you want to display certain behaviors, surround yourself with people that display those behaviors, role models. These are things that you can do in real time that you may have not anticipated, but that are going to be so necessary. What you consume is how you behave.
That's sometimes a hard one for a lot of people to hear because it has a lot of self-reflection in there, not only just personally, but what you've chosen to engage with, and taking the accountability of like, I have chosen to engage with things that feed my anxiety is a hard thing to grapple with sometimes, because we want to think that all of these things are just hitting us and we're not actively making a lot of these choices, when in reality we're in the driver's seat to our own life and we are actively choosing some of these things. Now I want to just give everyone a little bit of I just want to say this: when you actively choose something that you don't feel like has served you in the future, there's a lot of reasons why that happens, and one of them is the predictability of it. We, even if we're choosing something that is not serving us and is actually hurting us, we're used to that feeling, we're used to that behavior, and we're choosing it because it's familiar to us, not because it's healthy, not because we love it, but because predictability is calming. Predictability proves that we know what's happening around us, that we're in control of what's happening around us, that we have control of the outcome because we knew that was going to happen, right? And that can be a really hard thing to kind of understand, because you're like, well, my self-sabotaging behavior is because I can predict it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a
It
relationship one for me.
it makes you comfortable on some sort of level.
Yeah.
And we seek comfort. That's what we do as human beings.
That's what our body and our minds are designed to do.
You're not going to fight that.
We
Yeah.
talked about this recently with, people over 30 not sprinting for the rest of their lives, because we are designed to constantly seek comfort. We're seeking comfort in our lives, we're seeking comfort in our relationships. And comfort can look like chaos
Yeah.
because we're comfortable in chaos. Comfort can look like dysfunction, but we're comfortable with that dysfunction. So it's really important to take a step back, and instead of hitting like, well, I just self-sabotage, like I'm the worst, like blah blah blah. Maybe I self-sabotage for these reasons. However, I can take steps to interrupt some of that self-sabotaging behavior with the knowledge of who I am, where I got there, and how I might be able to steer the course in a different direction slowly. It doesn't happen with
No.
a giant left turn. It happens with maybe changing your algorithm to reflect some of these, um, to reflect what you would like to see, that would make you feel that would make you feel like the person you want to feel like.
So, hopefully, these steps have been helpful. The thing I love about reflective goal setting is that it is active. It is an active way to set goals rather than a passive one. And, for an Enneagram 8, that's what I need. I need action. Again, this is backed by science. And, we've all felt like that sort of sting of like a perceived failure of a goal, and it's hard to think about like putting ourselves out there again to set another goal with this like backdrop of, but maybe I'll fail, but what if you fly, my dear? But what if we take out all of that shit? There is no failing or flying.
Yeah.
There is only reassessing, adjusting, gaining knowledge. Like there's no such thing as failure when you set a goal, because every single time you are going to learn something, even with these perceived failed ones, right? Oh, I learned that perhaps I have some self-sabotaging behavior because of past traumas. Like these are all wins. There are no losses in goal setting. And when we actively work on it, I think that we can see these a little bit clearer, and we don't have that same sting when we're setting like a passive goal and it doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah. Guys, tell us at least one goal that you're setting for the future. Share it with us. We'll be the people that you can say it out loud with. And you don't have to have already come up with your supporting or action statements yet. But let's just start to identify what they are, big or small, and set some steps on working towards those.
We love you guys. Have a great week.